straight into our debate. Let me start with you, KC Singh. Those who are more optimistic should be given a chance. Do you think they'll still be optimistic after the kind of sniping we've seen today?
One has been looking at Indo-Pak relations since at least '98. I was then the spokesman of the ministry when the first contact took place between the two delegations after a nuclear test. Similar kind of logjam was there. I remember they came up to the Prime Minister Vajpayee, and they said that Pakistanis are being very difficult and we can't arrive on anything. And Prime Minister turned around, I still remember it was in a study, and he says, so what do you want me to do? And it was 5 minutes later that they were going down for the talks. Gohar Ayub Khan was the foreign minister. They all went in. And after about 5 minutes, they came tumbling out. Because Mr. Vajpayee turned to Nawaz Sharif and he says, don't you think you and I should talk to each other? And he readily agreed. And after they left, I believe Nawaz Sharif said, I'm very happy you turned them out. Because he was not very comfortable with his foreign minister. Because he had links to the Pakistani military. So very
what's
often,
the parallel you're seeing here?
Very often the talks have been rescued at the political level.
But today
But this time there is a problem. The problem is that what started as a composite dialogue in '98 has hit roadblocks 4 times. Twice with NDA because of terror attacks, Kargil and Parliament. And the second time with them, 2006 bombings, and now this. Last time you created the anti-terror mechanism and you thought that you can insulate the talks. After 26/11, how do you insulate them? Pakistan takes 14 months, grudgingly, crying and wailing they're taken to give you the least possible compliance that they can give. And now you get this lecture. I think what happened is, when you kept the talks at the Foreign Secretary level, you also hinted that Pakistan was free to raise what they wanted. Because you can't stop that from being raised. Either you should have had the anti-terror mechanism reconvened.
So that created a kind of level of chaos.
So they came, and on this side, the position started hardening. You could see that the CCS put everybody on a very tight leash. We've seen the Home Minister comment very, very clearly on what he thinks of it. There also, I think the people in army uniform have tightened the thing, because you could see the Pakistani Foreign Secretary take very combative positions. We are nuclear weapon powers. There can be clash. We are not dying to have a dialogue. So hardening of
positions on both sides is what we say.
And bureaucrats are not trained to handle hardened positions. The very fact that they were not going to have a common press conference was indicative that things were not right. Things had gone awry, and they were going to spin out of control.
But have they gone worse than was anticipated? KC Singh seems to be suggesting that there was a level of hardening on both sides. Abhishek Singhvi, it's quite interesting that your government's Home Minister was not very optimistic from the start, though of course he elaborated in quite a level of detail about why there was a need to talk. And then there was these 3 terror dossiers. So from the beginning, wasn't there just a long shadow cast on these talks?
Well, in a sense, yes, Barka. I don't think anybody, I mean, barring some starry-eyed, permanent genetic optimist, was very optimistic about these talks. The idea was to really have talks about talks, and you can't have great optimism on talks about talks. The idea was to keep engaged, to keep in touch, without in the least lowering our guard, lowering our determination, or keeping our stands very forthright. But and the degrees of optimism can vary slightly, but I don't think anybody who matters crossed a degree where it could be said that he was optimistic, much less greatly optimistic. I think all that has happened is we've started after a break. In that start, it is important to remember that the bulk, the predominant entirety of what we have said from the Indian side has focused on terror. More than, as much as Pakistan, the globe has got the message.
But Abhishek Singhvi, Abhishek, if I may interrupt, the Pakistani Foreign Secretary referred to much of what was written in these 3 terror dossiers as mere literature.
Look, nobody on this side agrees with the Pakistan Foreign Secretary's formulation. Not the parties, not the coalition, not the government. But can you change his formulation? He can be as unreasonable as he likes. But let me tell you that when you have talks like this and when you have comments which are bordering on the facetious, they also create a huge pressure of global public opinion internationally against Pakistan. It's not just India and Pakistan talking, but this is being seen by the world.
Okay.
And while you can take a position because you're a sovereign nation, I don't think it helps the sovereign nation's case.
Tuba.com